That scared you. You were scared, weren't you? What's going on, everybody? My name is Bendy. This is Disney Heroes.
Who's the birthday girl? Well, we were naked and there was a dog, but the back half was chasing him and it was a big...
So, if you couldn't guess by that little intro there, we're going to be talking about Fear today. I'm going to be going through his skills, what he does, who he's good with, how to counter him, the mods you should give him, etc., etc. If you guys like what I'm doing, definitely give me a like, subscribe, comment. You guys know the deal. Follow my Twitter. I have a Twitter now. It's BendyBen with a 3 for an E, just like my Reddit. Hit me up on there, or in game if you're in server 1, or wherever you can find me. I'm always down to answer any questions about the game you guys have. I love helping anybody out any way I can. Yeah, let's keep this intro kind of short. Let's just get right on into it. So, we have our boy Fear. He's probably one of the best heroes in the game right now, and probably the best support in the game, maybe aside from Kermit. Those two are definitely head-to-head for the best support in the game right now. But Fear, let's see what he does. First, we got his white skill. Passively, so that means this just happens throughout the wave. Instead of having a basic attack, Fear gets more anxious, gaining 1 stack of dread. Fear is also always scared, but he grants himself and allies armor per stack of dread that he has. When Fear or an ally receive more than 25% of their max HP as damage in a single hit, Fear gains 2 stacks of dread, and Fear can have a maximum of 20 stacks of dread at one time. Now, what his white skill actually does is Fear panics and flails through the enemies, dealing a lot of damage to enemies and stunning them for 4 seconds. Fear also deals additional damage and stuns enemies 0.3 seconds longer per stack of dread that he has. So you'll notice that his white skill does fantastic damage, however it is powered up by his basic damage. So that's kind of interesting. There's not very many heroes that have that as a thing, so just be aware of that. His green skill, whenever Fear reaches 10 stacks of dread, he releases a scream, dealing a lot of damage to all enemies and scaring enemies for 8 seconds. After Fear uses Dreadful Scream, he removes 7 stacks of dread. So, he just does a lot of damage. It's all fantastic damage. Just so you're aware, Fear does nothing other than fantastic damage. That's just a thing to keep in mind. Doesn't really matter a ton because he's a support hero anyways, but just keep that in mind. He does no basic damage or normal damage whatsoever. Blue skill. Fear tosses a helmet to the 2 allies with the least HP, granting them a shield with a lot of HP that lasts 7 seconds. And this is the key here. Heroes with this shield cannot be disabled. Now this is what Fear is best at. He's going to be giving 2 allies this shield, and then they cannot be disabled. So if you don't know what disables are, they are freeze, charm, blind, silence, and stuns in general. So clearly he's going to be protecting his team from anybody that stuns the team. However, note that he cannot give himself a shield. That'll come in mind for the counters later. His purple skill, Fear and his allies take 10% less damage from crits and super crits per stack of dread that he has. This damage reduction is less effective on allies above, blah blah blah. So, Fear is going to be a great counter for study teams like Maximus, Legally, etc., as well as scare teams, because Scare, if you don't know, makes all fantastic moves crit, so he'll be pretty good against scare teams as well. I feel like people don't really think of that. People don't really use Scare very much anyways. It's not a very common strategy. But anybody that has very high crit, Fear is going to be great against them. He can have a maximum of 200% reduction. It's very unlikely that it's going to reach that because every time he gets to 10, he reduces by 7 when he uses his green skill. So it's pretty unlikely that you'll reach 20 at any point. Realistically, he could be reducing as much as 100% damage from crits, which is pretty sick. Fear's red skill, the first 2 disables that are blocked by the shield from extra protection are sent back at the enemy that attempted to apply them, and it says here disables are blah 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 like I said. Fear and his allies are immune to freezes for the first 2 seconds of each wave. So this isn't super duper crazy of an ability to have, but it protects primarily against Elsa and Baymax. I think they're the only 2 that have a freeze right in the beginning of the fight. So if you're going up against an Elsa or a Baymax, or really anybody else with freeze, you will be protected from freezes for the first 2 seconds of the fight, which could give you a huge advantage right off the bat. He also gets a lot of skill power, armor per stack of dread, and HP from the extra protection. So, as I was saying, the blue skill is definitely the thing that he is the best at, as well as the crit reduction, but that doesn't apply quite as much. But the preventing his teammates from being disabled is definitely the key to what makes Fear so annoying to face. Alright, so that's his skills really quick. So now, let's talk about his discs. His first disc is his anger disc. What the level up does is it gives him more skill power and it gives him more max HP. Nothing too crazy there. And then the star ability, Fear begins each wave with 1 stack of dread. It's probably going to go up, I think, to 5, I'm guessing, once it reaches the maximum stars. I don't really know because haven't worked on this one. Maybe somebody in the comments can confirm that for me, but I don't use that one personally. I use this one. Like I said, I literally just powered him up, so I haven't tested him a ton yet. But over here, when Fear basic attacks, he also heals the frontmost ally for a lot of HP, and tank heroes on the team gain armor. This one's all about the tanks. Every 7 basic attacks, I'm assuming it's going to go down to like every 2 or 3 basic attacks when it maxes the stars, Fear applies 2 stacks of Hardy to the frontmost ally. So, if you don't know, Hardy blocks the disable from hitting the hero. So this works kind of similar to how his blue skill prevents allies from being disabled, but it only works twice. In addition, Fear also gives them Reflect for 1 second, which I'm guessing goes to like 7 or 8 seconds with max stars, but I don't really know. So if you couldn't guess, this is a really great combo to use with any tanks, really. Especially frontline ones like Maximus, Slinky, Goliath, etc. That really makes your team even more annoying to take down than it already probably is with Fear on there.
You can't be serious!
Next, let's go over his mods. If you didn't see my video the other day, I literally just powered up Fear this past Saturday, so I don't have all of his mods yet. However, I have some recommendations for mods that you could use. Now, you don't have to copy me whatsoever, you can do whatever the hell you want, but what I'm most likely going to be doing with my Fear is I'm going to keep this speed up mod, because it's just going to allow him to use his skills a little bit faster. I'm going to give this a blue skill mod so that he gives more shield to his allies. So he'll be shielding his allies a lot more and just making them not be able to be disabled. This one I'm probably going to make another diamond one and give that another blue skill mod. So I'm going to have probably 2 blue skill mods on him. And then the last one, I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm probably going to do either a reality or an armor mod. So that's going to be a circle mod. So when I'm done, my mods are probably going to look a little bit like this. Some other options could be you could just go all in with a little bit more speed. That's just going to allow him to use all of his skills a little bit faster. You could give him a shield mod. That's just going to help him live a little bit longer at the beginning of the fight. Note that if he has a shield, it does not give him the protection that his blue skill gives to a teammate. The protection from disables only applies to that one shield that Fear gives to his allies, and nothing else. The one thing I definitely don't really recommend giving Fear is a crit mod, because his damage is not really what makes him good. It's a nice little addition to him, but the thing that makes him good is definitely his blue skill. But do whatever you want, that's just what I'm going to be doing. Alright, so next, who is Fear good with? So first, Slinky Dog creates a really scary combo with Fear, because of the shields that they both provide, as well as the Reflect and Hardy that Fear gives him with his Rex disc. It creates a really scary combo that is really difficult to take down.
How do we stop it? I got it!
The next thing that Fear is going to be pretty good with is Study and Scare. Study, because the Maximus combo with Study is crazy, as I was saying before. With the Rex friend disc, he gives the frontmost tank Hardy and also Reflect. So this is going to be a good combo with Maximus, and Maximus has Study, so that's going to pair well with, say, Pleakley, Barbosa, Amelia, I think, has Study, and a few other studiers. There's a few others out there. So that's going to go good with the Study team. Scare is going to be good because Fear scares the enemy himself. So say Jack Skellington, Oogie, they're all going to benefit from the fact that Fear scares them. There's different abilities that benefit in different ways from Scare. Also, with his Scare, if the enemy is scared, Fear is always going to be critting. So that's the thing. Ian will also be a pretty good teammate to have with Fear because of his Goliath friend disc. Whenever an ally receives Reflect, Ian also receives Reflect. So that's going to go great as a combo with Fear's Rex disc, giving a tank Reflect. So basically, you're going to have at least 3 heroes that have Reflect going on at once with Ian and Fear together, as long as you have those discs equipped. Other than that, I mean, Fear will literally go with pretty much anybody. Any tank he's going to go great with because most tanks stand up front. Besides that, he's really just going to be defending anybody from being disabled that he's with. So really, he just goes good with anybody. You can slap him on any team. He'll do amazing. Now, who is Fear good against? As I hinted to before, Fear is going to be pretty good against freeze, and specifically, especially once you have his red skill, due to the immunity to freeze for the first 2 seconds, he's going to be particularly good against Elsa and Baymax. I think they are the only 2 that freeze right at the beginning of the fight. I could be wrong there. And then Mr. Big, it will also be countered by Fear's red skill. If he has full energy at the beginning of the fight, because he freezes with his white skill as well. And in general, he's going to be very good against any disable. So, as I said before, disables are freeze, stun, charm, silence, and blind. So he's going to do great against all of them because of his extra protection blue skill. And also, similar to the fact that Fear is good with study and scare, Fear is also going to be good against study and scare because of his purple skill reducing the amount of crit damage that is done. So study, scare, anybody that crits a lot, so that's going to be, say, Ian, Dash. Mulan has a lot of crits, so he'll be good against anybody that crits a lot. He'll be good against Disgust, Angel, and Sadness, and really anybody that disables your team. He's going to be good against them. Fear is particularly good against the meta right now, basically. Alright, last section. How to beat Fear.
Like quitting! That's what I'm doing.
Now, as I hinted to before, note that his blue skill does not protect himself from disables. So, Fear cannot protect himself from disables, he protects his teammates from disables. So, how do you counter Fear? You disable him in order to kill him so that he can't do as much for his teammates. So, some good heroes against Fear are going to be Disgust, Angel, Charm. In general, Freeze will probably be good. Well, maybe not Freeze as much, but stuns are going to be good against him, etc. So, just keep that in mind. He cannot protect himself from disables. He can only protect his teammates from disables, but just be careful with it because it could just bite you in the butt. Scare is a decent option against Fear because with his white skill, it says he is always scared. Heroes like Oogie Boogie might be pretty good against Fear because he takes 60% less damage from enemies who are scared. So for the entire fight, Oogie is going to be taking 60% less damage from Fear. This one might be a little bit less reliable, but Randall could be pretty decent against Fear of his purple skill. Now, this is a little bit more situational because this only occurs after he revives for the first time. Well, maybe not the first time, but after he revives. So you kill him once, he comes back alive, and Randall deals 200% more damage to scared enemies. So after he revives, he's always going to be dealing 200% more damage to Fear. Another good counter to Fear is going to be shield breakers. So the 3 main shield breakers in this game are Dash, Rapunzel with her Jasmine disc, and Shan Yu. They are the main 3 shield breakers. They're going to be good against Randall because of the extra protection shield that he gives his teammates, especially Rapunzel. Your entire team is going to be doing a lot more damage to the teammates that Fear is preventing from being disabled. Now remember, Rapunzel's Jasmine Disc gives all allies 40% more damage to enemies with the shield. It's not just going to apply to her. Rapunzel in particular is probably going to be a pretty good counter to Fear and his team that he's going to be with just because of the increase in shield damage that you're going to be able to do.
Stop it. Get some help.
Mim is a little bit iffy, but she might be pretty decent against Fear because of her Hex ability. He's going to be stunned anytime he uses his white skill, as long as he's the last one to have used his white skill. Also, it could be a decent option if you notice that Fear on your enemy team has multiple support heroes, because you're just going to be more likely to Hex him. So this one is probably not going to be as reliable for you, but it's definitely an option. Similarly, as I said in the last video about Ian, Ursula has probably the more reliable Hex for you. So she's going to do kind of the same thing. She'll Hex, and anytime he uses his white skill while he's Hexed, he's going to be stunned instead of using his white skill. Editing Bendy here. I recorded that video like 2 weeks ago at this point, but since Rocketeer is now in the game, I wanted to point out that Rocketeer is also a pretty good counter for Fear, just because he attacks the back row. Not really any other reason, but he goes and just attacks back row heroes with his white skill and his other skills while he's in the back. So there's another good counter for Fear for you. I'm sure there's a few other options that you guys can think of out there, so if you guys have other counters, definitely put them in the comments. Make me look dumb for missing something really obvious. So, to kind of review really quick.
Sorry, sir. No one was listening.
Fear is going to work really well with Slinky in particular. The combo of Slinky and Fear is very difficult to kill. He's going to go great with tanks, specifically a lot with Maximus and Study in general, and he's going to go well with Scare as well. You counter Fear with Silence, so that could be Disgust, Angel, Tia, etc. Oogie could be a pretty decent counter for Fear. Randall, situationally. Shield breaking is going to be great, so that's Dash, Rapunzel, and Shan Yu. Something I just thought of just now. Mulan could potentially be a decent counter. The enemy doesn't have a Timon on their team. You could definitely go in Milan and possibly take out Fear before the fight even starts, so you don't even have to worry about him.
But I mean, it's just so drastic.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like I don't have quite as much as I had for Ian, but Fear is very annoying to take down. Pretty tough to counter, but definitely doable. Just takes a little bit of strategizing on your part.
We did it, gang! It's working!
Oh! Yeah, so that's gonna be pretty much it. Peace.
Prepare the foot!
Keys to safety position. Ready to launch on your command, sir.
Just shut up!
Fire!
That's it. Go to your room. Now.
Foot is down. The foot is down.
Good job, gentlemen. That could have been a disaster.
Well, that was a disaster.